is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and special guest Jack Bond in today for Lee Sterling. And we've had Jack on the show several times. Got a lot of hockey we're going to go over today, so looking forward to that. Only 2 games of the NBA with the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup beginning tonight. And we're going to hit on one of those games coming up. But a lot of hockey we're going to hit on. Also review last night's ugly Eagles-Chargers game and also take a look at the college football playoffs. So with all that being said, Jack, let's get right to it with our first pick of the day and our wrong team favorite.
What the fuck? WTF.
The Vegas Golden Knights remaining out east as they continue their road swing tonight on Long Island to take on the Islanders, who are back home after they split a pair of games in Florida. They won at Tampa Bay and then lost to the Panthers on Sunday. So now back home to take on the Golden Knights, and we'll see if New York can bounce back and get on track. Vegas, a short favorite here. Jack, what do you like in this one?
Well, yeah, if you'll remember, I think the last time I was on the show with you, Kevin, we talked about the fact that the Islanders had just fired their goaltending coach after starting the season giving up 4 goals a game and starting on an over streak of something like 11-0. And what have they done since they fired that goaltending coach? And not only firing him, but replacing him with a goaltending coach who can speak Russian to their Russian goaltender. Well, they've gone 13-8-3. They're firmly in a playoff spot in the Metro Division after really seemingly out of nowhere in a jam-packed Eastern Conference. And Ilya Sorokin is second in the NHL in goals saved above expectation. And he just won last week's NHL's first star of the week. So clearly the change they made has worked. He is not the type of goalie to be giving up 3.5, 4 goals a game. And they're really not the type of team that can survive giving up 3.5, 4 goals a game and playing a more up and down, fast-paced game. So the changes have worked, at least in the crease, in between the net. So the power play still isn't ticking really at the right pace. They're just not talented enough. They lost Kyle Palmieri to that brutal torn ACL. He's a big part of their special teams units. But they're getting this Vegas Golden Knights team at the right time. Now, believe it or not, it's probably going under the radar given how inconsistent the entire Pacific Division has been this year. But Vegas is a sub-500 team since the start of November. They're 7-4-5 in their last 16 games. And we typically like to look at the last 5 to 10 games when we decide on these bets and when we want to give out some numbers for the show. But that goes to show you that Vegas really for half of this season hasn't been what we thought they'd be. Now, again, they're still second in the division and vying for the lead in the division, but that's more so about the fact that Edmonton has struggled. The Kings have struggled. Vancouver hasn't brought things around either. And Anaheim really just seems to be the only team that can remain consistent in that division. So 7-4-5 in their last 16. It's a sub-500 team. They're still a great team. I'm really not worried about them long term. But when you can find spots to take advantage of these bad PDO runs for NHL teams, and for those who are listening who don't know what PDO is, it's the sum of your shooting percentage and your save percentage over a given period of time. And it's really a determining factor, tells you how lucky or unlucky a team has been. And an average luck value under PDO would be around 100. The Vegas Golden Knights over their last 15 to 16 games are at around a 94 to 95. So they're just getting unlucky right now. And this is a good time to really jump on top of that and take advantage of it. When you've got the Islanders at home at a plus 120 dog, when these two teams seem to be going in different directions, I'll take a shot on that. So give me the New York Islanders plus 120, national TV tonight. Maybe Matthew Schaefer, that first overall pick, could show out a little bit on TNT. The New York Islanders, I'll take the money line plus 120. The wrong team is favored.
And the Islanders also beat the Golden Knights in the first matchup in Vegas, so we'll see if they can pull off the sweep tonight as they hook up in a busy Tuesday night. We have a couple more NHL games to get to in just a little bit. Taking a quick look back at last night. Not so great, but still, we always got to mention it. 1-3 with our selections here on the show. The only winner was Aronde Gadsden under receptions, which was pretty easy. Justin Herbert just couldn't find him last night. Obviously, if you don't know, the Eagles lost in overtime to the Chargers, a game that went to OT. Chargers kicked the field goal to take the lead. Eagles went down, and Jalen Hurts got intercepted, and the Eagles end up losing. And just quickly on this one, Jack, that it's like Philadelphia. Every time that you think they're down, they come back and play well. And every time you think you got them figured out, then they don't play well. It's just been such a hard team to figure out this season. And because Dallas got tripped up at Detroit, the Eagles are going to end up winning this NFC East. But how much confidence do you have in them going forward to maybe repeat this year's Super Bowl champions?
It's one of those things where I feel like I can trust 95% of the team, and I don't think I can trust the quarterback or the head coach. I mean, Nick Sirianni came out and said there were going to be drastic changes to the offense this week and that we would see the immediate effects of that. It didn't look all that different. The offensive line even had its own struggles last night. Jalen Hurts, I think we're entitled to some kind of compensation for having to watch him play that second quarter of football last night. That was horrible. I think it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience seeing him lose, 4 fantasy points in one play by throwing an interception and then recovering a fumble and then fumbling himself. I don't know. This feels like that Eagles run from a couple of years ago where things seemed to fall apart for them 5 or 6 weeks into the season, but nobody else in that division is really taking advantage of it. So tough to say whether I can trust him or not. I'll certainly defer to Lee for future bets on the Eagles. He's our NFL expert, but watching them last night and really over the last 4 to 5 weeks, it's hard to be excited as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, the Eagles lose to Chicago on Black Friday. They give up a ton of yards on the ground and then lose to the Chargers last night. So still in control of that NFC East down the stretch, and the Chargers right behind the Broncos for first place in the AFC West. That also did not help the Chiefs' cause last night with LA winning, but Chiefs and Chargers coming up too, which should be fun. Now, the other picks, I had the Sabres last night, and I went in the first period, thought that after they had lost the first 2 of their road trip that they would play better against Calgary. The Flames were coming off 2 good wins against Minnesota and Utah, and unfortunately, Calgary jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first. They ended up winning that game, and so that was a loser. And the other game was the Spurs-Pelicans, where San Antonio was up big in that one. New Orleans had a comeback in the third quarter, and New Orleans ended up getting the cover as an underdog. San Antonio won the game, but ended up 1-3. So we move on to today. Still have some more picks to get to. Want to shift to this now, Jack. The college football playoff announced on Sunday, and still a hot button topic for a lot of reasons on so many things. I want to start with this. Ohio State, they lose the Big Ten championship to Indiana, and the Hoosiers number 1 seed overall. Ohio State's 3, so it's fine. They get a bye. That at least they don't have to play that extra game. But do you have any concern about what you saw with Ohio State on Saturday in that game? Do you think that they put too much into the Michigan game, trying to end that streak, or Indiana's just a really good team and they fell short?
Indiana's better than I thought. I'm an Ohio State fan. I graduated from Ohio State undergrad, and I had all the confidence in the world in this team after the Michigan game. And the concern, I think, if you ask Ohio State fans right now, is that it felt like in that Big Ten championship, Ryan Day sort of fell back into the concerning play calling that he's exhibited against Michigan the last couple of years. And a lot of Ohio State fans thought it was just a Michigan problem and that he had some mental block when he played that team and they were just his boogeyman. But he turtled a little bit with play calling wise. They've never really been a team to kick the field goal on a 4th and 1 inside the 15 with that offensive line and that talent on the offensive side of the ball, and came back to bite him. I was with a couple of Ohio State fans myself when we were watching the game, and all of us looked at each other like we knew he was going to miss that kick when they brought the field goal kicker out. But at the end of the day, that stream of the bracket, that Miami, Texas A&M round 1 matchup, the winner of that matchup playing Ohio State, does seem like the most exciting and probably the most competitive stream or end of the bracket. Not too worried about them in that first round matchup, but we'll see moving forward. I do think they probably deserve to stay in that 2 spot overall. If you look at all the conference championship losers, BYU lost and Ohio State lost. They both dropped and they were affected. Several teams were affected and were dropped after losing their conference championship, except for Bama. Bama was the one team who got blown out, and their spot did not move at all. So The Big Ten certainly has the top two. They're the top heavy favorites. I think Oregon can be competitive, but it should be an Ohio State-Indiana rematch in the final.
Now, I know last year being the first year of the 12-team playoff that we're just getting used to things and it's not the norm, so we have to let this whole thing play out. But seeing how Ohio State last year played at home in the first game, and Oregon, who was the number one seed by far, they're sitting back, and then we saw Ohio State win the opener, then they play Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and they just demolished them. That, is it an advantage playing that first game maybe at home and then, getting that against the rested team, or we have to let this thing play out and see if that's a trend from last year or if that was just an anomaly?
I hate to say it because I don't want to invalidate what the G5 teams did this year, but I think the teams who are getting Tulane, Ole Miss is getting Tulane, and Oregon is getting JMU. I think the ability to play those two games as 3 touchdown favorites, Ole Miss having already beaten Tulane comfortably, I think those games are going to act as sort of a warm-up and sort of a dress rehearsal for the big games, and I think that can play an advantage for those teams. You certainly saw it, though, with Oregon. Last year when they played Ohio State in that Rose Bowl, they looked like they were not ready to play anybody that day, let alone a top 5 team in the country. So I think it's best to play it out, to let it play out and see where it goes. But I think if anything, if you're trying to take advantage of a rest versus rust situation in that second round, you're going to be looking at Oregon and Ole Miss more than likely, just considering the fact that they will get to play, but they're probably not going to be under the highest leverage, highest stress situations going up against those G5 teams.
Now, as far as your thoughts on, you kind of mentioned it with Alabama. I think everyone's kind of on the same page on it, that you're not getting penalized for playing in the championship game. You're getting penalized for getting blown out in the championship game. That if Alabama lost a close game to Georgia, then you could say, all right, you lost to Georgia, it was 27-24, but you were just run out of that game. So, we know all the ESPN, SEC stuff, but would you have put Notre Dame in over Alabama? I think we all are on the same page as far as Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head. You should be in over them. But as far as Notre Dame getting left out in the cold and Alabama still getting in spite of losing as a 2-touchdown favorite to Florida State in the opener, which is the worst loss of any team in the playoff, and getting blown out by Georgia in the SEC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely would have left Alabama out. If we're going to take on this philosophy that losing the conference championship game, let alone losing it as badly as Alabama did, does not matter, that's the point of playing football games. At the end of the day, the baseline rule of a football game and the consequences of playing a football game are that you get punished if you lose. And not only did Alabama lose 3 times this year, they lost badly to Georgia in the conference championship, like you mentioned. And they didn't just lose on some walk-off field goal against Florida State at the beginning of the season either. They got beat handily in that game. Notre Dame lost to 2 top 10 teams this year, bona fide top 10 teams. And yes, it's their fault. They are not part of a conference, but at the end of the day, they lost 1 less game than Alabama did this year. And I think I understand you don't want to severely punish these teams for losing conference championship games, but I don't think you should throw it out completely. And, at the end of the day, Notre Dame, if you looked at the betting odds, not only to make the playoffs, but also their odds to win the title, Vegas certainly saw that they were a top 5 to 6 team in college football. And frankly, it's a bit odd to me, I guess perplexing to me, this relationship ESPN and the SEC have together. And it's hard to imagine that didn't play, any factor in this decision. I don't know. I didn't hear what you and Lee said. What did you think? Who did you think the last 2 teams should have been?
Honestly, I wasn't a fan of BYU getting in. I don't mind them not being in.
Sure.
Alabama, this is the issue, is Alabama good? Yeah, but you shouldn't be rewarded for your name. And you know what? You don't have Saban there anymore. Kalen DeBoer, I don't remember if I said this to Lee on air or off air, but I'll say it on air with you, Jack. Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach. He's not Nick Saban. It's just not must-watch TV with Alabama. And you don't have those kind of players like you used to have. You can name all of them that are in the NFL right now. There just isn't the same cachet, I think. You're still really good, but you're not elite anymore. Is Notre Dame elite? Notre Dame's pretty good. And, yeah, I get they started 0-2 and overcame that. And, yeah, they didn't beat a lot of good teams on their schedule. They beat USC. But, you beat Syracuse, you beat some of these other teams. It's not really that impressive. I would have brought in Notre Dame just because it would be more of punishing Alabama as opposed to elevating Notre Dame. That Alabama put themselves out of it, so Notre Dame gets pushed into it. That's the way I look at it. And with Bama, again, 3 losses, 1 to a team that started 2 or that finished 2-10 last year out of the gate. That should knock you out immediately. I mean, unless you win your final 11 games, that should knock you out. So we understand why Alabama's there, but I don't think that they're going to be going very far.
Well, and further to your point too, DeBoer is not Saban, but if you notice, the very first thing that ESPN did during that playoff bracket reveal show on Sunday, the very first person they went to was Nick Saban. They went straight to Nick Saban politicking on behalf of Alabama and not Kalen DeBoer. All these coaches in their post-game press conferences and first thing Sunday morning are talking about why they deserve to be in the 12-team bracket. They're making their case to the committee and all this. ESPN just skips right past DeBoer and goes to Saban as if Saban's the guy who the committee needs to hear from. And at the end of the day, yes, you're right. Alabama was the only team out of those 3 that lost to a team that wasn't even bowl eligible this year. If I remember correctly, Florida State's not even close to a bowl game. Miami's losses weren't great, but at least they were to 2 teams that were, frankly, in the playoff discussion until the last 2 or 3 weeks. And Notre Dame's 2 losses were to 2 teams that made the bracket. So you're rewarding the name to some extent, and they've got to figure it out. I don't know how they do. That's why I'm not paid the big bucks, but they do need to figure it out because I think every year now you're going to keep making a case for adding another 4-8 teams to this bracket.
And also, too, final thought on this is that Miami, look at their 2 losses to Louisville and SMU. They had the ball, the chance to win each time. That they didn't get blown out of those games. They were getting blown out by Louisville, but came all the way back. And Carson Beck got intercepted on the final drive. He got intercepted against SMU. But still, they had opportunities, and they were in both those games. Coming up, we are
going. If I could add one more thing, too.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody knew Notre Dame was minus 1,000 to make the playoffs before the season started or whatever they were, minus 300 to minus 500. When they lost those first 2 games to Miami and to A&M, after they started 0-2, Notre Dame was still minus 130 to minus 140 to make the playoffs at that time. So everybody knew, Vegas knew that it should have probably been Notre Dame. And then considering Miami's rest of season performance, they were probably, they were more questionable, but Notre Dame deserved to be in that playoff, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they get left out, and they don't play a bowl game. So we'll see you next year, Notre Dame, because you don't want to play in a bowl game, which I don't understand. But anyway, we're going to get to some more NHL picks with Jack. Also, we have an NBA hidden gem. All of that is straight ahead as we continue here, this Tuesday edition of Locked On Bets. Let's talk now about FanDuel, and that's right, another big week of the NFL coming up. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting, always a lot of fun. Well, number one, because you don't have to rush to get the bet in before kickoff. If you want to wait 5 minutes into the game, 10 minutes in the game, wait till halftime, you could still jump in. It's always open no matter what. And you have Falcons Bucks to kick off week 15 of the NFL coming up on Thursday. And that's a big game in Tampa inside the NFC South. Yes, Atlanta has struggled, but Tampa Bay, they need to win games after they just lost to New Orleans. So if you want to bet on Tampa Bay, maybe in-game if Atlanta scores first, or going the opposite way. What if the Falcons score first? What if the Falcons jump out to a 10-0 lead in that game? You want to jump on Tampa Bay live betting, you can do that. Also, the player props, you can look at Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, at some of the receivers, at Bijan Robinson, what he can do in-game. So many different choices with the live betting, and it's a lot of fun because you can see these numbers move instantly on every single play, and maybe you could find that edge if you jump in at the right time. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We continue Locked On Bets here on a Tuesday. Kevin Rogers and special guest Jack Bond in for Lee Sterling. We'll have some more NHL bets coming up, though the NBA Cup, we're at the quarterfinals tonight. And let's get to our NBA hidden gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
Heat and Magic meet for the third time this season, all three times in Orlando. It's the way it's worked out. And it's a 6 o'clock Eastern tip. And we're going to take the over of 235 in this one tonight. Now, what's interesting is because Orlando was so great defensively last year, when they met in opening night, the total was 215.5. Orlando won that game 125-121. A month later, a little over a month later, the total went from 215.5 to 241. A 26-point jump, and Orlando won the game 106-105, so easily stayed under the total. We're going to go back and take the over here. Franz Wagner, he's out for the Magic. Their leading scorer suffered a sprained ankle in their loss to the Knicks on Sunday. Paulo Banchero, he's back for Orlando. We know the Heat can score, and they've been pretty good offensively this season. I think after the 211 we saw, we're going to go the other way with it. Take the over coming up in tonight's NBA Cup quarterfinal matchup between the Heat and the Magic as our NBA Hidden Gem.
I like it. I like it when you see those lines move 25 points on the total pregame after one matchup, and it just soars right under in the second matchup. You're usually right on top of it. I'll be tailing you on that one.
All right, let's see if we can get that going tonight. Big game in Orlando, the first of four quarterfinal games in the NBA Cup. Now it's time for our NHL Blowout Special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Nashville Predators have not been able to get back on track. It's been 2 seasons now, and they got Steven Stamkos, they got Jonathan Marchessault, and it just hasn't worked out for them. They are facing the Colorado Avalanche tonight, who have lost a total of 2 games in regulation this season. They have been the best team in the NHL, and the Avalanche on the road tonight. And, Jack, what do you like with this one, the Avs and Preds in the Central Division matchup?
Yeah, they've got Stamkos and Marchessault and guys like Ryan O'Reilly for now. We'll see if they trade him off. There's plenty of rumors swirling, and it seems like all the Sharks are sniffing the blood in the water right now. I don't know how the Predators have not fired Andrew Brunette quite yet as the head coach, although I don't think he's the problem in Nashville. I think the problem is probably general manager Barry Trotz. And speaking of Trotz came out the other day after the Predators had lost something like 7 of their last 8, and in a more colorful tone than I will put it here, said, "I need more for my players." And I'll let you look up the quote in your own spare time, and I won't say it on the air, but Nashville did go on a quick stretch after he said that, winning 4 out of 5. And then they got bulldozed by the Hurricanes this past Saturday, 6-3, and it was never even close in that one. They're probably coming into this game feeling pretty good about themselves after having won 4 of their last 6. Maybe a few players and coaches bought themselves some more time before getting traded or even fired. But this game is just such a massive step up in competition for this Predators team. Now, remember, during that stretch when they won 4 out of 5, they played Detroit, Chicago, Winnipeg, who we'll get to in a minute, but is severely depleted, Calgary, who's one of the worst teams in the league as well, and the Panthers, who are certainly depleted and have been for several weeks. So none of those teams are exactly part of Murderer's Row right now this season. Now they get a Colorado team that is trying to secure a winning road trip. They're 2-1 so far. They should put them at 3-1. They lead the league in expected goal share, and they have also just lost 1 game in regulation since the first week of November. They're blowing teams out right now. I think it's them and Dallas 1 and 2 leading the NHL so far this year. Now, I really don't think you should overthink this one. This is far and away the biggest talent mismatch in the NHL tonight. I've watched this Predators team. I'm based here in Nashville. I watch them more than I care to admit. This is the slowest team in the NHL, and if you haven't watched the Colorado Avalanche play hockey this year, this is going to look like a major league team against a minor league team. It's on national TV as well. It's going to be on TNT just right after that Islanders game we talked about earlier. And the Avs are just they're going to do their thing. In fact, if you want to get a little bit creative with this one, you can take the Avalanche minus the 1.5 at plus 105, or you can parlay the Avalanche money line with the Nathan McKinnon to score a goal. That's actually going to get you at around plus 130, and FanDuel is going to let you get creative with that on that same game parlay. So I think the Avalanche should be able to name their score tonight. The Predators' goaltending has fallen off quite a cliff recently, and they've got a couple of everyday defensemen that are out on this one. So I expect this one to be a 5-2, 5-1 final in favor of Colorado. We'll take the Avalanche minus the 1.5 plus 105 for our blowout special.
All right, and we'll see if Colorado stays on fire tonight in Nashville against the Predators. Coming up, we have another Central Division battle in the NHL we are going to get to for our NHL lock of the night. That is straight ahead right here on Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here on a Tuesday. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond in for Lee Sterling today. A lot of NHL talk, and we will wrap it up with our lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it! Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
The Dallas Stars, now 20 wins on the season, their first 30 games. In Winnipeg against the Jets, Connor Hellebuck, he's been sidelined. Jets have injury issues right now. And Dallas and Winnipeg playoff rematch from last year. So, Jack, what do you like here in this matchup? The Stars up in Manitoba tonight to take on Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, speaking of two teams really going in different directions, I don't think things can get much worse for the Jets without Connor Hellebuck in net. Now, yes, they're 2-5-1 since he had his knee surgery on the 22nd of November. They're giving up over 3.5 goals a game, and you'd probably expect some struggles with Eric Comrie coming in and taking the net. I mean, that's replacing the best or second best goaltender in the NHL with a guy who's just a career backup. But I think their problems go deeper. I mean, since Hellebuck went down, and this doesn't necessarily have a direct correlation, they're only scoring just over 2 goals a game, and they have no center depth. I mean, Jonathan Toews was signed in the offseason, and he was a fun story for a brief minute, but he's certainly not looking like he's his old self. They've demoted him down to a fourth-line winger spot. And outside of that, they're going with Adam Lowry, Vladislav Nemesnikov, and Morgan Barron down the rest of their center depth behind Mark Scheifele. So that's just not good enough. I mean, this is a team that was certainly a cup contender last year. If I remember correctly, they won the President's Trophy with the best most points in the regular season by the end of the year. And yet they can't score this year. And now they're giving up goals. Now, they've always been a low event structured hockey team, not giving up a ton of goals, but still averaging 2.5 to 3 a game. And they're just not getting the goals anymore this year. Dallas, on the other hand, like I mentioned it earlier, they might be the second best team in the NHL behind the Avalanche. They've lost once in regulation since the first week of November, just like Colorado has. They're 13-1-2 in their last 16 games played. They've got a goal differential in that 16 games of plus 22 right now. They've scored 67 goals in those 16 games. So they've also just lost once since the first week of November. They're coming off of a bit of a sluggish win over Pittsburgh at home, but now they can get up for a quick divisional road trip here. They've already beaten Winnipeg once this year, and they've only lost on the road in regulation once all season. I think this line is short, though. I think bettors probably expect Winnipeg to play that more structured game at home. They just haven't been. They've been more high event, and their goaltender's not giving them the big saves they need. This is a big momentum mismatch right now. We're really betting on 3 teams that are going in opposite directions from their opponents right now. I think we got another 4-2, maybe even a 5-2 final. Give me the Dallas Stars money line. It's a short -130, -135 price tonight. That'll be a level 1 lock.
All right. Sounds good. And we'll see how that playoff matchup or playoff rematch from last year ends up between Dallas and Winnipeg. And Jack, to wrap things up, Paramount Sports heading into now the bowl season is set. NFL got a couple of big weeks up ahead. What's going on with Paramount Sports?
Yeah, Double Down December right now is going on through the end of the month of December. You can get every single game, as Lee mentioned yesterday on the show. If you just give us a call at the office at 800-400-9741 or visit us at ParamountSports.com, all you got to do is use SAVE300 as a coupon code. That's coupon code SAVE300 to get every single game through the rest of December for $300 as part of our Double Down December promotion. That's 800-400-9741 and visit us at our website, ParamountSports.com.
And you can find Jack on X at Paramount NHL, myself at Rogers Picks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as well as the podcast version you can find on Spotify or Apple. Again, type in Locked On Bets. We appreciate Jack Bond hopping in for Lee Sterling today. Lee will be back coming up tomorrow, and we will speak to you then right here on Locked On Bets as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.